Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to EVE Online. Today I decided to make a short video about nullsec belt
Warp
rat.
drive
Now,
active.
recently in game I've been going through some nullsec systems, looking at likely candidates for where I will set up a moon mining base. For those who don't know, CCP announced a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I'm not quite sure, the next set of upwell structures. Those are citadels, industrial complexes, and this new one that they've announced will be refineries. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail on them. If you want all the information about them, I recommend reading what CCP has actually said about it. But the gist of it is they are dockable stations that you will be able to go and do moon mining from. Differs from the current method of doing it. You'll actually need to have mining ships in the system. It's just going to make those types of asteroid belts available to you. So my friends and I are thinking that we might do this a bit once it goes live. And so I've been going through nullsec recently, looking for likely systems. And in the course of that, I've just been hanging out in various systems for a couple days. And I've been doing some belt ratting to pass the time while I'm there. And you may remember a while back I made a video on belt ratting in low sec. I have to say, up here in high sec, it doesn't seem to be as high value, but occasionally you get lucky. There's a few things I've learned from doing it here. So I figured I'd make a video to share with you what I'm doing here. Now, you see right now I'm in a minus 0.2 system. That is going to control what sort of enemies spawn in this belt. Most importantly, what kind of battleships spawn. You see this belt has two battleships, which is pretty good. Both of them are worth 6.5 or 650,000, sorry. That is decent. The highest possible bounty from a battleship in a minus 0.2 system is 1.1 million. It's from normal battleships anyway. That will regularly spawn in belts. The minimum value is 500,000. So there's two general theories as to how to do this. The one that I'm doing is we're just going to warp to each belt in turn. I'm doing this in a Dominic's. Cruisers that speed tank are a lot more popular for it, but like I say, I'm just here to kind of hang out. I'm not trying to maximize my ISK or anything. But you warp to each belt, you clear out everything that is spawned there. In about half of the belts you'll see spawns. And then things take about 20 to 30 minutes to respawn, so by the time you clear the last belt, you can just dock up, wait 10 to 15 minutes, and everything's back. Of course, you might have to wait longer if there are fewer asteroid belts in the system, and if you have a system with enough belts, you might not have to wait at all. You see, I'm getting a little extra ISK by using a mobile tractor unit, though I'm not waiting for it to grab everything. I'm just putting it down. Whatever it loots. Whatever it doesn't, that's fine, I just leave it. Now, the other way that some people belt rat is they'll look for good spawns. In this case, a good spawn would probably be considered anything with two battleships, or with one battleship if it's one of the 1.1 million battleship. And they will kill the battleship and warp away. Now, I haven't tried this, but I'm told what happens is in the 20 to 30 minutes when that group would respawn, as long as there's at least one ship from it left alive, that ship, that same wave will respawn. So you'll kill the two battleships, say, and then you'll warp off and you'll leave everything else alive. then in 20 to 30 minutes after that, the 2 battleships you killed will respawn. You'll come back through and you'll take out those 2 as high value targets again, and you'll rinse and repeat, clearing out entirely anything that you consider a bad spawn without any of the battleships, and making sure to keep around anything that you consider a good spawn, and that way you'll get the highest bounty value. I'm not doing that because what it leads to, if you rat this way, then you are getting the same spawn every time, and there are rare spawns that appear in these belts. You saw one of them from my video a few days ago, where I found a dreadnought, an NPC capital ship, which I didn't even know was something that could happen. This is a 1 battleship wave. It's the lowest value battleship, so even if I were selecting what spawns I want by just killing the battleships and warping away, I would still clear this out completely, because 1/500,000 battleship is not worth it. I'm gonna wait till the ship comes to a stop so I don't have to turn around and pick up my drones. But yeah, there's that, and there's a couple of other types of rare spawns. Ideally, I'll get one as I'm warping around in this video, but to be perfectly honest, it's not very likely. But the rare spawns that can appear are faction spawns. In this case, they would be called Dominion. Instead of Angel Commander, it would be Dominion Commander. The odds of getting one of those are pretty long, but they are possible. And while often all they drop is faction ammo, sometimes they will drop a faction module. And their name is different for each faction. So for Angels, it's either Dominion or Domination. I think it's actually Domination. For Guristas, it'll be called Dread Guristas. It usually has a pretty distinctive name, so you'll know it when you see it. And their bounties are significantly higher than normal ships. I heard somewhere that it was 7 times what the normal ship bounty is, but that is not true. I actually measured it with a few of the spawns I've gotten, and the normal version did not give 7 times less. It was something around that, but it was not exactly multiple of 7. The other spawns you can get a hauler spawn, which is, it's not quite the same as an NPC mining operation, but there will be freight ships in the belt. They usually have their own icon, and by killing them, you can loot them. They have a lot of minerals on them. They don't really have special bounties at all, but the minerals can be worth anywhere from a couple million to 20 million. It is about the highest I've seen. I'm sure it can go higher than that. Loop this up here. Now, if you want to do those, bear in mind that very rarely will the hold of whatever ship you're ratting in, whether it be a battleship like me or a cruiser, as is more common out here, it won't be able to carry all of the loot, and it may not even be able to carry an appreciable fraction of the loot. So if you're going to spend a significant amount of time ratting in a single area, you will want a hauler docked somewhere nearby, so that if you get that spawn, you can kill it, bookmark the wreck, go to station, switch ships to get your hauler, bring it there to take the loot. They are lucrative enough where, as long as the hauler's within maybe 1 jump or maybe 2 jumps from you, it'll be worth grabbing it. The other type of rare spawn that you might get, though it's exceedingly rare, I am told, I haven't seen it, but I'm told they can happen, is officer spawns. Now, officers only show up in nullsec. They are enemies that drop literally the best loot in the game. It's better than Dead Space modules. Often the modules sell for billions, or tens of billions even. just because of how rare they are. I've also heard that I've heard a lot of things about what causes them to spawn. Some people say that it's that they only spawn in minus 0.8 or lower security systems. Some people say that they will spawn in any system, but the lower the security status, the higher the chance of that is. I don't really have, because every time I've looked at it, I've gotten conflicting answers. I'm not sure who to believe on it. If you have like actual proof, not hearsay, but actual data on where they spawn, let me know. I'm not really hunting for them because the odds of getting them are so long anyway that, you know, they're just kind of a happy byproduct if you get them, and besides, you either need a group of friends or a capital ship to down one. So I don't really have a problem with the fact that I have not seen one of those yet. Also, you might consider a rare spawn an NPC mining operation. I know I covered those in my low-sec belt ratting video. They do show up here in null-sec as well. NPC mining operations where you can attack them. They'll warp off when you do. A defense fleet will warp in that you can fight with. I did experiment with that out here where I attacked one from the edge of my drone range. Yeah, I'm still using a sniper fit on this where I can attack from 120 kilometers away. Though at the edge of that, my accuracy starts to fall off pretty heavily. But I attacked from out there. The defense fleet warped in and I wasn't able to do much to them. They started closing on me pretty quickly, so I recalled my drones and warped off. But they looked fairly menacing. They had their battleships did fairly high damage even from that sort of a range. So I wanted to warp off before anything could warp scramble me, because they do that. So still no word on what sort of rewards you get from that. In terms of the probability of getting the hauler spawns and the faction spawns, I am told that they are the same probability. They are equally likely. And that the chance of getting one of them is 1 in 20, so like 1 in 40 chance each. I don't know if I buy that because the number of belts I've looked in versus the number of them I've seen don't quite match up to those numbers. But it's possible that the person I heard it from was talking about a minus 1.0 security status system where maybe they have higher spawn rates. I don't know. Ultimately, it's hard to find concrete numbers on a lot of this stuff. I have been, as I've been going through these belts, just sort of tracking how many belts I look at versus what spawns I get, just because I'm trying to get some number on it for my own purposes. If I end up getting any useful information out of that, like if I go to a lower security status system, like minus 0.5 or minus 1.0, and doing any belt ratting, I'll compare the numbers I get there and let you know if it has any effect. Obviously, making statements about the probability of something needs a large sample size, so it could also be that I haven't been doing this for long enough, and probability being lumpy as it is, that things just haven't evened out yet. Who knows? Not seeing any spawns here. It's possible that we're here too soon after the last time I came through. I got a hauler spawn in my last round of these. And so I docked up to switch ships. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording for that. But that means that this back half of the belts I've cleared much more recently than the front half, because I took time to change ships twice in that amount of time. Unfortunately, the haulers, there were 2 of them and they both dropped tritanium, which is like the least valuable thing you can get from them. Like I say, the ISK from this It looks a good bit lower than what you get during low sec ratting, but as you can see, I'm the only person local for the entirety of this video. I have been the only person in local. So you can find, you know, not all of nullsec, but areas of nullsec that are not terribly busy, like this one, and so it's a little bit safer. It also helps if you're going to spend a lot of time out here. If there's local people who hang out in nearby systems, maybe get to know them. There's a group here. You can see I have a citadel on my overview. You can only see these. If you're used to playing in high sec, you probably see them on like every citadel. They show up on your overview, and you might not know. But you can actually only see a citadel on your overview if you have docking permissions at it. Now, in high sec, most people set public access, like anyone can dock there. In nullsec, that's pretty rare. Usually it's just set to the corporation, the alliance the corporation is in, and maybe any friends of that group. So if you don't already know the people, you won't be allowed to dock at their stuff. But a group here had a public access citadel, which is very nice of them, and they come and hang out once in a while, so I've said hello to them just to introduce myself, sort of thank them for putting down the citadel. That way, you know, if they see me in system, they know that I'm not here to kill them. It's one less person you have to worry about. So luckily we're not too far ahead of the spawns because we're still getting them here. We haven't really seen anything special yet. I'm going to do the last 2 belts in the system and then move on. As before, also covered in my low sec video, I sort everything here by name instead of by distance, because that means that I can keep track of where I am. Like, I see I'm 100 kilometers from this belt, so that's the one I'm in, which means the next one down is the next one I need to go to. If you are not sorting by distance, then when you warp to something, the distance to everything changes. And so, unless you remembered the name of all the belts you've been to, you don't know what one you have to go to next. And you're likely to warp in on a belt that you've already killed everything at, and all you see are the wrecks. Just a quick look at my fit. Again, I don't recommend using this fit for belt ratting unless you're kind of just hanging out. If you want to optimize your ISK per hour, then something that warps around faster, like a cruiser, is probably a better choice. I'm pretty sure I could fit a Vex or Navy issue to do almost exactly the same thing as this. It could also field 5 sentry drones, I believe, at almost the same range. But this fit, I have armor pumps, which are just specifically to tank angels, because I fit this ship knowing I would be in their space. These guys have gotten under my guns, so I need to send out my ogres. But that's just to boost my armor, although they very rarely get me into armor. I have 5 drone link augmenters and an open high slot here. I maybe could fit... I have plenty of CPU and power grid, so I could fit like 1 gun to this if I really wanted, but I'm not too worried about pumping every point of DPS out of this. I wouldn't want to bother keeping it stocked with ammo anyway. If I were doing something very difficult, then I would, but in this case it's just not worth it. I have some 3 cap rechargers, sorry, to help make me cap stable. As you can see, I'm cap stable for 27 minutes with this fit, which is longer than I will ever need, really. Warp the belt here. These are docked up.
Warp drive active.
I have a sensor booster. This increases your maximum targeting range. It also increases, I think, your scan strength. But I have a script on it that gets rid of the scan strength bonus and doubles the targeting range bonus that it gives you. So usually I can target at 80 kilometers. Having this lets me target at 120. And if you are just getting into to be able to use sentry drones and you're trying to fit something for snipers, but you can't target anything from that range, which is a very likely problem to have, this is the thing you're missing. This is the module you need to actually be able to target things from appropriate distances for your sniper drones. I have a large micro jump drive. This is useful when I warp to a belt and I warp in and things are out of my range, like, because I'm warping to usually 100, sometimes 70. So if things have spawned on the other side of the belt because I wanted to keep range, I'll be too far. So I can just micro jump drive in 100 kilometers closer. And then, yeah, they're a little close for my sniper drones. Often I'll have to use my other drones instead, but that's okay. It's faster in the long run. Also, this just being able to use a jump drive is very nice for anything else you might happen to do with Dominix. Anytime you're running a battleship for PvE, I highly recommend a micro jump drive. Typically, it can replace a micro warp drive for most things, although not all. Kind of close to these guys, and I know I'm not really looking at them on the screen here because I have the fit up, but we'll just have to deal with that. Low slots. I have 4 drone damage amplifiers. You see that gets me with my snipers out to 521 drone DPS, which is suitable for my purposes. Wouldn't want to go much lower. Some of the battleships have decent tank, especially the one that's worth 1.1 million. Which we still haven't seen. I was hoping to point that out, but I think this is the last belt, so we're out of luck for that. By the way, sometimes you'll get these Archangel guys, or whatever your faction, your pirate faction's equivalent spawn is. They're just slightly buffed versions of the normal ships. The frigates tend to target your drones and can be a little annoying. But beyond that, they're not really much of a threat. I'm going to, while we finish talking about this, put a mobile tractor unit to get some of this loot here. So the last things, damage control, just a good... It's never a bad choice. It's not always the best choice, but it's never a bad one. Reactive armor hardener. Here I didn't go the route of tanking for faction-specific stuff. I just decided to get a general tank. I figure my rigs have the faction-specific stuff covered. And an armor repairer can repair 76.7 armor per second. And I can run all of that and be cap stable for a long time. Fit's been working for me. Obviously, you can get a little more utility out of it. It's by no means optimized, but it's cheap. It's only 200 mil. And if you're looking for just something cheap to belt rat in, again, not as good as perhaps a Vex or Navy issue if you're sticking with Galente, but it's not bad either. It gets the job done. Unfortunately, no big spawns on this run, no factions or other haulers, because I forgot to turn on my video for the last one, but that's fine. Let's head back to station, we'll dock up, and then we'll close out the video.
Warp drive active.
Hopefully you guys learned something. This is more aimed at people who haven't belt ratted before or are a little nervous to go into nullsec. I'm also kind of hoping to show that there are places in nullsec where you can just live for a while, and very few people will come. This system is one of the ones I've had an eye on for the mining base, it's people live in it. Most days I see a couple people, but I've only seen gankers in here a few times. One time I'm pretty sure it's because a wormhole opened into the system, and it was a wormhole to W space, a system where a PvP corp lived, I think. So I did see the wormhole that same day.
Docking request accepted.
And then there's also been a couple times where just pirate fleets have come through, but they're easily spotted, since, you know, normally if you see more than like 2 people come into local at the same time, anything more than that you should instantly be suspicious of, and you can just dock up and wait it out. It's not that dangerous. Just, you know, you can't AFK like you can in high sec a lot of the time. You do have to be wary. So yeah, hopefully you learned something from this video. Null sec can be pretty entertaining. It's true the ISK from that isn't great. We maybe got a tick in there, 1.8 mil bounty ticks. That's a little low as this goes, but that's fine. It's worth noting, though, that if you're living out here, that's not your only form of income. Anomalies and signatures will still spawn, and they tend to be worth a lot more than the high-sec versions. I probably will make a couple videos about those, but that's a topic for another day. Maybe next time some spawn in this system or in a nearby system, because I cleaned out all the ones that are there today. But maybe I'll record those and upload them just to show you what sort of money you can make. But thanks for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed it, and fly safe.